Gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. In the last almost 2 weeks now, we have witnessed the justified protest of our youth against all forms of police brutality. The pain of our young ones have been felt in various parts of the state and country, as well as in the diaspora. They have spoken in one voice against the unbridled violence of their rights and lives by the disbanded Special Anti-Robbery Squad, popularly called SARS. Through the hashtag #EndSARS protest, Nigerians from all walks of life have spoken loud and clear on the need for government at all levels to make immediate and concrete actions to secure the life of innocent Nigerians, especially the youth, many of whom have suffered gross violation of their fundamental human rights. Some have even lost their lives under questionable circumstances. In one of my engagements with the protestants, they gave me a list of 5 immediate demands, which I have personally presented to the President Muhammad Buhari in Abuja last week, Tuesday. I must, however, state that even before my visit to Mr. President, I had taken action on some of their demands, which included the immediate release of all detained on account of their participation in the EndSARS protest and the announcement of an establishment of a 200 million naira compensation fund to families and individuals who are victimized by officers of the disbanded SARS. In response to one of the demands of our youth and in line with the resolution of the National Economic Council meeting of October 15, 2020, under the chairmanship of Mr. Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo, the Lagos State government has constituted, which we've now seen the swearing in, of a judicial panel of inquiry and the restitution. This panel, as we've just seen the oath taking, is being headed by a retired judge in the Lagos State High Court, a distinguished public servant that has served this state and this country diligently, Honorable Justice Doris Okuobi, retired. In Lagos State, we fully understand the enormity of the task at hand and the need to ensure that we uphold the tenets of due process and fair hearing, which is why we have selected a seasoned and unblemished judge to head this judicial panel of inquiry. We assure you that justice will indeed be served in this situation. The other members of this judicial panel have been carefully chosen across the various strata of our society, and they include Mr. Ebun Adegurua, a senior advocate of Nigeria who's representing the civil society, Mr. Taiwo Lakano, a retired Deputy Inspector General of Police, Ms. Patience Udo, also representing the civil society, Mr. Segun Awosonya, a human rights activist, and Mrs. Toyin Odesonya, a director in the Odusonya, a director in the Lagos Citizens Mediation Center. We also have 2 representatives from the youth, and they've assured us that they will send those nominees in the course of today. We also expect that we'll get a representative of the National Human Rights Commission when they send that person to us. The panel will sit at the first instance for up to 6 months with the following terms of reference: to receive and investigate complaints of police brutality or related extrajudicial killings in Lagos State and to ensure that victims and their families are able to publicly air their grievances, to evaluate evidence and draw conclusions on the validity of the complaints, to determine and recommend compensation and other remedial measures where appropriate, and issue checks, payments in favor of victims or their dependents, to determine the officers responsible for the abuse of victims and to recommend appropriate prosecutions, to make recommendations to the Lagos State government on what must be done to ensure that police and all security agencies no longer abuse the right of the citizens. To recommend standard operating procedures for the police and other on relations with citizens while discharging its duties. And I think it's important for us to emphasize that the recommendations will not wait till the end of 6 months. Families will need to be compensated either on a monthly basis or as so deemed fit by the panel. The panel has the absolute prerogative to put closure to individual cases as they deem fit. So they can actually start and end a case in 1 week, in 3 days, in 2 weeks, in 1 month as they deem necessary given the evidences and as may be presented on a case-by-case basis. But we'll expect that the first tenure will be reviewed at the end of 6 months, and if there's further need and in consultation, we will extend further. By virtue of Section 5 of the Tribunals of Inquiry Law, the laws of Lagos State 2015, this tribunal being set up today has powers to procure all such evidence, written or oral, and to examine all such persons as witnesses as the tribunal may think necessary or desirable to procure or examine the summons any person in Nigeria to attend any meeting of the tribunal, to give evidence or to produce any document or other things in person's possession. Mindful that these complaints may be against police officer who may be in active service or already dismissed, the tribunal has a mandate to carry out the directives of the federal government to enable it to discharge its duties without fear or favor. We'll expect the panel to judiciously use its powers to ensure that all necessary parties appear before it to testify. The members of the panel have the mandate to ensure that the rule of law prevails. I want to personally thank the chairman and members of this newly inaugurated panel for responding to our call of duty at this very crucial time, and convinced that you recognize the importance of this assignment, which I believe will open a new chapter in police-citizens relationship, not only in the state but in the country. I therefore urge you to approach these tasks with all sense of responsibility, even as Lagosians look to you for a fair and just outcomes. On our part, we look forward to your recommendations, which we pledge to implement to the best of our ability. We are determined to ensure that the police and other security agencies no longer brutalize or kill our people. We will continue to play our part in the entrenchment of a just and a secure society. I am on the side of the young people out there. I understand your pain, and I know your concerns are genuine and legitimate. I must reiterate that whilst we were able to immediately acquaint to some of your demands, some others will require time. We ask you to bear with us as we dutifully work on your demands. I assure you that Lagos State will neither tolerate the violation of your fundamental human rights nor the victimization of its residents. I believe that some of the actions we have taken, including the constitution of this judicial panel of inquiry, should to a large extent show our sincerity and willingness to address all your concerns. We are committed to the complete overhaul of the Nigerian police, especially the Lagos State Police Command. The inauguration of this judicial panel is only the first step in a long line of reformative actions that will lead to a thorough revamp and the reorientation of the Nigerian police and, by extension, like I said, the Lagos State Police Command. I will therefore like to renew my appeal once again to you all to suspend the protests and to create an atmosphere for the resolution of all pending demands. This, in my view, will help us to avoid it being hijacked by hoodlums who are disguising themselves and marauding themselves at night with other ulterior motives. I encourage everyone that has been brutalized by the disbanded SARS including families of those who must have had fatality, to present their case before this judicial panel. The task of reforming the Nigerian police is achievable, in our view. We, however, require the cooperation of all our citizens, including the youth, to accomplish this. The Lagos State appreciates the cohesive efforts of our resilient young men and women who have stood their ground these last 2 weeks. Because of them, the much desired change has become inevitable within the Nigerian police force. I must state for emphasis that immediately after this ceremony, which will be ending very shortly, the panel members will move to their location that has been set aside for them, and it's a location that is within Lagos Island. It's actually our building in the Laswa Falomo area, where the citizens can have access to them when the need arises. A conducive environment has been provided for the panel members, and we hope that they will set about their work immediately. They will set up, and they will be given relevant, necessary secretariat support, and they will determine in what form they want to be having the setting. If they want live coverages, if they want media briefing at the end of every session, they have the full prerogative to do that. The government will not cajole or enforce anything. They will determine how they would want to operate and conduct the panel. So they have absolute cooperation in whatever means or form that they choose to operate the panel. The space has been provided, the atmosphere has been provided, and we can assure you that you will do it in an atmosphere that will be free of rancor, and you can do about doing this very important assignment without fear or favor. I will also, for emphasis, state that we have generated an email, which I'm sure they will also populate very shortly. But for emphasis' sake, the email that has been created for the panel at the first instance is called the Judicial Panel on SARS at lagostate.gov.ng. The Judicial Panel on SARS at lagostate.gov.ng. This email is live. It can receive complaints, it can receive petitions, it can receive whatever communication you so desire. We also have 3 telephone numbers that we have created for them, for ease of communication, so that they do not need to use their own personal telephone numbers for this assignment. And like we did mention 2 days ago, I will also mention the numbers again, and they will have the telephone numbers. The panel will determine who or how they pick the telephone numbers and in what form. The numbers are 0901 051 3203, 0901 051 3204, 0901 051 3205. So all of this will be available for the panel to enable them discharge these very important duties immediately. I want to once again thank the chairman and the panel members, and I want to say that the 2 representatives of the youth that were expecting, once they come in, they will also take their oath and they can take their seats, with the panel immediately. I want to once again appeal to our youths. I've enumerated that for us as a government.
Well, the governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, there inaugurating the Judicial Panel of Inquiry on the End SARS crisis and police brutality. Well, we look forward to other state governments also setting up and inaugurating their own judicial panels of inquiry so that the public can be reassured that indeed the Nigerian government is doing something about the protests. And that's all on today's edition of The Morning Show. Bosin Omofaye will be here to take you through the Global Business Report. Stay with us. It's still the Arise News channel.
My need for emergencies. This is also service to the citizens. This is a 20 million population, that the service to the citizens is also important. There might be emergencies, there might be things that are waiting. Please, I want to appeal again that let us have access, let the public officers have access to their offices so that they can discharge their responsibility. The payments that you pay them, the salaries, let them go and do the work and be able to serve the citizens and be able to bring about positive engagement. And I'm hoping that all of these steps that we've taken and even further ones that will be taken will further confirm the sincerity of the state government, and ensuring that we bring this protest to a reasonable halt, and let us be able to do the other jobs that you've asked us to do for our citizens. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for creating time to be with us this morning. Thank you very much, and have a good day.